Welcome to the Mariners POSTCAST. I'm Anderson Hurst. The Mariners have won a baseball game. Finally. Let's talk about it here on the Mariners POSTCAST.
This is the Mariners POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Seattle Mariners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, Mariner fans? Finally, the Mariners get it done. They win the first game of the Houston series 9-6. Ended up being a lot closer than it probably should have been. You get a decent start from Emerson Hancock. The offense finally starts getting going a little bit. You look up and down the box score today, and the offense did its job. Absolutely. I mean, you're going to say that when you score 9 runs. But it's when you get, I think almost everyone gets on base at least twice, if I'm looking at this correctly. Yes, because anyone who didn't get the only person who got on base just once was Luke Raley. But still, overwhelmingly positive outing from the offense, and it's exactly what you needed to do against a Houston team that was struggling, especially in the pitching department coming into tonight. So good to see that the Mariners took advantage of that, got Tatsuya Imai out of the game after getting 1 out. So it's a perfect kind of get right game for Seattle in this 4-game series against your division rival. No Chris tonight. He's taking a couple days off, as I took the last couple days off covering the hockey team. That was a crap show within itself. So I'm back with the baseball team for the weekend. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Mariners, they go to 5-9 on the season, but it's an important first win of the series. Let's put it that way. And it's not just getting the win today that's important. It's how you did it. And we'll kind of start with the start here with Emerson Hancock in a second. But I think the big story today is the offense. 10 walks. That's the first time in a long time that I can remember a double-digit walk night for the Seattle Mariners. And yes, a lot of it was the poor pitching of the Houston Astros, but we've seen relatively poor outings from pitching staffs go unpunished against this Mariner lineup, especially in the early portion of this season. And to have them basically just take what's given to them. And if you can get on base, get on base. If you have a wild pitch, take advantage of it. And then if they leave one over the plate, try and drive it. And I feel like what this Mariners offense finally did today for the first time this year, I think. You get multi-hit nights from Randy Arozarena is actually the only one that gets multiple hits tonight. But with all the walks, you get multiple on-base nights from J.P. Crawford, Cal Raleigh, Josh Naylor, Randy Arozarena, obviously, Cole Young, Dom Canzone, and Leo Rivas. So overwhelmingly a good offensive output for the evening. And, it's good to see that, because I think that's kind of what this offense needed to do. I don't think it's the drive in the baseball that bothered me the most going into this game. It was more of they weren't doing the process part of things the way that they should have been. They weren't doing, the taking your walks, hit by pitches, putting the ball the other way when you're in 2 strikes, all that little stuff that we talk about all the time. You're going to get unlucky a lot of the times. And we're still seeing that with Cal and Julio, I think. In fact, I'm curious to see what you guys think in terms of who do you think is going to really turn it on first between those two. I think I put those two in a different category than Josh Naylor. I mean, everyone puts them together because that's the middle of your lineup right now. But I think Cal and Julio, in terms of talent levels, just a step above. So which one of those two, in the comments section, in the live chat, which one of those two do you guys see really turning around and putting up a good offensive season that we expect from them first? Because I think you can make an argument for either one of them. They're still kind of figuring things out here in the early going of the season, but we'll find out. But let's start with the start. Emerson Hancock. It seemed like for the majority of his outing that he was kind of the same that we've seen earlier in this portion of the season. Stuff was really good. The sweeper was working when he, figured out the release point. That was kind of the inconsistent part. But there was a couple, instances where it popped up with him because it felt like, those couple walks. It's we talked about this all last year with Chris. That if you're going to be a pitch to contact guy, which I think he can actually be a very effective pitch to contact guy, you're going to be efficient that way. You're not going to give up a lot of home runs. Focus on, drawing ground balls and, occasionally getting the strikeout, stuff like that. You can't walk guys if that's what's going to be your MO. And that was what the one thing that he was drawing him back from being a good starter for the first couple of years of his career. And for the first 3 starts of this year, I think this is his 4th, maybe it's his 3rd, I can't remember correctly. But for the first couple starts of this year, Emerson Hancock had done exactly that. He had taken away the walks as a part of his game, and he did a really good job of that and just kind of focusing on making the hitters beat you. Today does give up 2 walks, and they both come around to score. You could pitch out of that, yes, but if you're, like I said, if you're not going to be a guy that relies on your stuff to get out of jams and you're going to be a pitch to contact guy, it's going to be a lot harder to maximize that when you are giving up walks, keeping the bases a little bit more juiced than they normally would have been. So that's going to be the main thing moving forward. Other than that, he was fine. Good starter. I think a step back in terms of the overall, everyone kind of was on the Emerson Hancock's like the ace of this staff. Let's slow down on jumping that gun at this point in time. I still believe he, as of now, is the 5th best pitcher on the Mariners staff. I still believe in Brian Wu, George Kirby, Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert ahead of him. And when Bryce Miller comes back, I believe in him ahead of Emerson Hancock as well. But it's an absolutely nails guy to bring in when one of those guys is injured. And you got to kind of rely on that for the majority of this year. So I think he's done excellent in that role, just similarly to what he did last year, but even more, a step up. And I think that kind of new release point that they talked about on the broadcast has been a huge point in that. And it's helped him out a lot, make that slider and 2-seamer kind of really play off of each other in that tunnel. So good for Emerson Hancock. Gets through 5 today. Not his best start by any stretch of the imagination, but if 5 innings of 3-run baseball is not your best start, and it leaves you with a 2.04 ERA after today, I think you're in okay shape. So hopefully he kind of has a little bit of a mini bounce back his next outing, and we can kind of move on from that. Before we get to the offense and the unsung hero portion of the broadcast, I just kind of wanted to mention one more time how important it was for this offense to kind of get this game. There's little moments in here where earlier in the season, this Mariners team could have turned this into a much more difficult game than it needed to be. And the defense didn't rear its ugly head like it had for the last couple weeks today, which I don't know if I'm impressed with that just because you didn't give him the opportunity. I think the pitching was good enough. The bullpen was spectacular today, minus the Wilcox outing, which we'll get to. But I think it's just overwhelmingly a positive outing for me in the Mariners series against the Astros. A team that, on one hand has been really struggling on the pitching side, but has been hitting the ball really, really well. So getting the dub is important, especially in that first game of the series. We'll come back. We'll talk about the offense a little bit more specifically, but player by player. And then we'll do some unsung hero, unsung villain, and we'll get you guys out of here. Once again, Anderson Hurst with the Mariners Postcast. Chris is taking a couple days off. He covered for me for the last few Mariners Postcasts, so I'm kind of returning the favor a little bit before we get back into the regular swing of things here during a long 162-game season. Mariners win this one 9-6, go to 5-9 on the season. We'll be right back with more on the Mariners Postcast. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out, knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you since we were last chatting on the Mariners Postcast, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed just in the last minute, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates that check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less time, less stress, more results. When you need the right position and the right person for that position to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get $75 of Indeed sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support this show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, it's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Welcome back, Mariners Postcast. Anderson Hurst here. Christopher Crawford's taking a couple days off. He covered for me the last few days while I was doing hockey duties. So I'm kind of returning the favor here on the weekend just to give him a little bit of a rest because he deserves it. He's a good, hardworking guy. We can talk nice about him since he's not here, but once he gets here, that's when we start to be mean. Okay. Welcome back. Mariners win this one 9-6. Just a get right game. And more than anything else, it's a get right game for the Seattle Mariners. The offense, you get multiple on base days from JP, Cal, Josh Naylor, Randy, Cole Young, Dom Canzone, and Leo Rivas. That's 7 of the 9 hitters. The only ones that don't are Julio and Luke Raley. And Julio gets one of the early RBIs that kind of puts you in a good spot. Let's talk about Randy Arozarena because I've been kind of waiting for this moment for a little bit now. He's looked, for me, one of the better hitters at the plate. If you look at the results going into tonight, he may be, it was fine, but he's the Dom Canzone stick out to you, the Luke Raley's a little bit, the Cole Youngs, just because of those monster games that they had. Randy didn't really have any of those monster games before tonight. So his stats don't look, overwhelming. Again, this is before tonight. We're still in the early portion of the season. These can change really quickly. But for me, I have been really liking his process. He kind of knows who he is at this point. He's not a 30 home run guy. He's not trying to hit the ball to the ballpark every single time. He takes his walks. He steals bases. We can be critical of his defense, absolutely, and we have been, and we still will be. I think eventually there might need to be a conversation about him being a full-time DH, but we can get to that point a little bit later. But today, his home run is the difference in the game. Let's be completely honest here. And I know you get some, insurance runs later that end up being bigger than you need them to be because of Yordan Alvarez's home run. But I feel like without Randy's home run, you're in just a completely different situation. It put the game in a different spot. After going up 3-0, it felt like the Mariners were going to run away with this. And then Emerson Hancock kind of has a little bit of a rough inning. A couple unlucky things there, but we talked about the walks and all that stuff. But Randy being able to, take advantage of that pitch. And it was right after he felt like he was going to walk, too. And almost challenged. It looked like he tapped his head. But I don't know if he kind of did it really hard. Like he was kind of mad at himself and he's trying to put his hand on the helmet a little bit, which was kind of funny because I don't know if the ump was going to take that as a challenge, which would have then, changed things. I think it would have been called a strike anyway. But Then the next pitch, he hits a home run, and it was just an absolute tank to the upper deck in left field. So good for him. I think he absolutely needed that. He's been one of the best hitters in the Mariners in the early portion of the 2026 season. So I'd love to see it. Would I like to see Cal and Julio be, getting hot like we know they can? Yes, absolutely. But when they're not, having guys like the Dom Canzones, like the Luke Rayleigh when he was hot, like the Cole Youngs, like the Randy Rosarenas that have been the Brendan Donovans when he's in the lineup, those guys, kind of picking up the slack makes you think that once Cal and Julio figure their stuff out, this offense is going to be okay. I feel honestly probably more confident in this offense than a lot of other people do. And that's not the part of the team that I'm most worried about in the long term. I feel like this offense is going to be fine. They're going to go through their dry spells where they don't hit a lot of home runs, and that's how they score a lot of runs. But if you consistently, like today, take your walks, good approaches at the plate, work through the bullpen, and that's the biggest thing that I think I'm going to look for in the next couple of days. The best part about tonight was A, that the Mariners won, but B, because you got the starter out of there getting just one out in the first inning, that has such a ripple effect throughout the rest of this series. You made the Astros bullpen throw. I haven't done the math. I probably should have done a little bit better preparation, but you made him get 26 outs, basically. And that puts a lot of stress on the rest of the bullpen, especially considering that the last 2 days, they don't even know who's starting with Christian Javier and Hunter Brown both on the IL. So for a team that's really trying to figure out their starting pitching at the moment, getting one of their few starters that they do know out of there in the first inning is so huge for this team, especially for this series, that I think you have a chance to really kind of put your foot on the gas. I think after this game, I expect the Mariners to win 3 out of 4 against the Houston Astros. So let me know in the comments what you guys think, if you think that's a relatively reasonable expectation. And then, of course, my question from earlier, who do you think is going to get hot first, Julio or Cal? Because I think you could argue either one of them. My unsung hero from today, there's a lot of good options. Anyone in the bullpen you could really say? Bizarro, Spire, Brash, Munoz, all good. Munoz a little shaky at the end, I should say. Brash was fantastic, comes in and cleans up for Wilcox. So I'm going to say Matt Brash. Wilcox comes in with a 6-run lead. Puts a guy on, and then Yordan Alvarez, who, by the way, oh my God, watching that guy take at bats is awesome. I put something on Twitter earlier today, but there's no way to beat this guy. He takes his walks, just like we were mentioning with the Mariners lineup. He doesn't miss mistake pitches. His swing decisions are almost perfect. And that doesn't just mean swinging at strikes and letting balls go. That means the pitches that are just, pitcher's pitches, as they say, the sliders that are low and away right on the corner that can be called strikes sometimes, he lets those go. He doesn't even care. If you beat him, you have to beat him very, very perfectly. But anytime you try and sneak something by him, you're not going to. It's amazing. And he can do it against left-handed pitching. He can do it against righties, obviously. That dude is just an all-world hitter, one of the best hitters that I've seen in such a long time. And as a baseball fan, I know he's an Astro, but as a baseball fan, that dude is just crazy good. So you're going to take your lumps with him. And he's probably been one of the best hitters, if not the best hitter in the American League in the early portion of the season. So, giving up a 3-run home run to him with 6 runs, with a 6-run lead, with your kind of middle reliever guy in there, not high leverage guy, I think is okay. So that's why I actually think unsung hero is sort of Dan Wilson at the same time, because of how the way he used his bullpen today. Now, I will say this is one of the first times that it felt like that there was the kind of scripting of the end of the game the way the Mariners wanted to, right? You get a decent start. You can kind of go Spire to Bizarro. Now, if they had kept it close, they would have gone Brash to Munoz after that. But because you had generated a little bit more of a lead, that's why they go to Wilcox, and it ends up not working out. So they end up going Brash to Munoz. So good stuff from the bullpen. A little bit shaky for Munoz. That's why he's going to be my unsung villain today. Just for whatever reason, the last Munoz outing that we saw was, I think, 4 days ago. Excellent stuff. He knows how to, make it make his slider work off his fastball really, really well. Wasn't locating his fastball that well today. And his slider, he can dot that outside corner to right-handed hitters. But other than that, it just wasn't working. But it ends up, because his stuff is so good, it ends up working out, and you get the win. Mariners win this one 9-6, excuse me. Go to 5-9 on the season. I am now expecting 3 wins out of 4 at least in the Houston series this weekend. So we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Another 6:40 start. So let's get another one. Hopefully the Mariners can come out with the dub against the Houston Astros. Thank you guys for listening. Again, Chris Crawford taking a couple days off, so I'm kind of filling in the gaps for him. So appreciate all y'all coming out. For the Mariners postcast, hit the like if you haven't already. Check out Ty and Colby's videos on Locked On Mariners, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good